The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business. Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm here with Alex Cattoni. Alex, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure.
Yes, so Alex, you are a copywriter, a speaker, a founder of the Copy Posse, where you have a community and you've helped scale multi-million-dollar brands. You've worked with companies like Shopify, Mindvalley, numerologist.com, many others. But I think your story, at least where we're going to start off, is interesting because I think it was 2008 or so when you actually planned to go to law school. But instead of going to law school, you ended up hopping on an airplane and flying to Malaysia. So tell us what was going on, what took you kind of halfway across the world, and why no law school and Malaysia instead?
Yeah, it is funny when you hear it back. Like, I was going to go to law school, but instead I decided to move to Malaysia, which is exactly what happened. I don't know, like many people, I went through high school and university thinking there was only maybe one of 6 options of careers that I could have. I come from a very academic family, professors, doctors. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a really good lawyer one day, and went to business school, majored in business law, graduated, and like many people decided, okay, I'm going to save up some money, take a gap year while I study for and write the LSAT. And my dream was to move to Vancouver and go to UBC Law School. I live in Vancouver now, have only been on the UBC campus maybe once or twice to go for a hike or go to Wreck Beach. But yeah, essentially I was bartending, and I had this nagging feeling that I didn't really know if I wanted to be a lawyer, which is scary. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of being on this path and you're like, is this what I want? Whether that happens in university, after university, when you're in your 40s, 50s, I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. And I think I was kind of scared to admit that I didn't want to, because my whole life up until that point had been pointing me in that direction. I majored in business law. I did all this extracurricular to make my resume more appealing, all so I could get into law school. And I have to actually give a shout out to my dad, my stepdad, who's just the most amazing entrepreneur and quiet guy and unassuming. But I think he probably saw something in me that a lot of other people didn't. And I think he knew that I didn't want to go to law school. And it was one morning, because I didn't mention I was back at home living with my parents as I was bartending. My dad put this newspaper article under my door, and the headline just simply read, "Female attorneys have highest depression rate," something like that.
He was trying to give you a little sign, huh?
Yeah. And to me, I was like, this is the permission I needed. That was my dad's way of saying, are you sure you want to do this? And he had been telling me for a long time, like, I could totally see you working in like advertising or marketing. And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm going to be a lawyer. Like, I was so convinced. And it was after that I thought, okay, I'm going to toy around with the idea of maybe not doing law school right away. I hadn't quite bought into the whole, I'm not going to go, but I thought maybe there's something I can do just to see if there's another avenue or opportunity for me. And that, through this sort of random series of events led me to finding this company called Mindvalley, which at the time was a small startup based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, who had, maybe 10 employees. I don't quite know the exact number, but it was small. And I found this company online, and I remember their website said, if you're a God-gifted genius, we'll hire you. And I remember thinking, there is no way in hell that I'm going to get this job, but I'll apply anyway, because, as long as I have an iron in the fire, I can feel less bad about bartending and living at home with my parents. And long story short, it's pretty crazy now after it's all happened. And even after I got the job, the fact that someone at Mindvalley saw that email, opened it up, decided to interview me. And then literally a month later, I was selling my car, packing my bags, and moving to Malaysia to accept an internship there. It's kind of crazy.
So talk to us a little bit about that, because I think it's very interesting. Like, you accepted an internship, right? You started kind of at the quote unquote lower levels within the company.
Oh yeah.
And, you may not have had kind of the business chops in terms of being in the real world conducting business, but here you are, law degree, you've invested a lot of time and energy and money into developing that kind of high level of, academia. and then you go to an internship and afterwards you rose up in that company, right? And you accomplished a lot. We'll talk about that. I think a lot of people might kind of wonder, like, I'm interested in your perspective. Why were you okay starting at an intern level? Why not? Did it ever cross your mind, like, no, I'm not going to start at the bottom. I have more qualifications. I've accomplished more, and I would never begin at that level. What was any thoughts like that kind of percolating in your mind?
I think, there's always a little bit of ego that comes into play. It's kind of like, oh, is this really, I made $800 a month Canadian working at Mindvalley for the first, I don't know, while. It was a while. But I think what it came down to was if you're really connected to a path, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. And I think far too many people get hung up on sort of the ego side of things, of what they should be, getting paid, or what that ought to look like. And the truth of the matter is, if something feels aligned, you should be willing to do it for free.
Yeah. So being willing to kind of go down that path, even if you're not going to get paid for it. So the reason that really resonates with me is because I remember a job that I had many, many years ago. I was working for kind of a startup company in kind of the bio space. And it also was like very entry level. But fast forward many months later, and I had been given a lot more responsibility within that organization. And I remember the founder of that company saying, yeah, it's interesting that, you were willing to take this job and kind of start with very, like, even admin kind of projects or activities. But now look where you are, whereas someone else wouldn't have done that. So that really resonates that you were already seeing almost like the future of what it could be. And you were okay with starting at a lower place.
And the path can be unconventional too, right? Because yes, it would be very easy for someone to argue, well, you were really young at the time, and of course you were willing to take an internship. You really had never had a job. And that's true. I mean, I had summer jobs and I bartended, but that was my first real job. So of course I was, of course, quote unquote, I was willing to take an internship. But what's interesting about that though is, I was, if not the youngest person in the company, one of the youngest people in the company. And in 3.5 years, I became the creative director of the company. So when I started, it was, let's say 10 people. I was the lowest of the lowest on the totem pole. And when I left, I was one of the executive team members of the entire company. The company at that point had grew to, I think, between 55 and 60 people. And I managed an entire team and oversaw the creative direction of all the launches and products. And so, when you're willing to do unconventional things, the path can also be unconventional after that. And, even if you're in your 40s, for example, the path can look very different for you in a year, 2 years, 3 years, if you're willing to forget about what these preconceived notions are or social constructs around what is, what you should be paid or what your time is worth. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, charge what you're worth or expect to be paid what you're worth. But as I said, if the path is aligned and and it feels right, then money shouldn't really be part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think when people put money at the forefront, it's usually a short-term decision, right? And not necessarily, like, you're not thinking long-term, but success really comes from focusing on the long-term, not just on the short-term. So you seem to be very comfortable in front of a camera. You record lots of videos, like you put a lot of content. Is that something that you always had, or is it something that you had to kind of work on and develop?
Oh, I had to work on it big time. In fact, a lot of my students, one of them dug up an old video of me from my Mindvalley days, and they were laughing about it because they posted it in my coaching group on Facebook, and they were like, oh my gosh, look at what I found. And I was like, that's so embarrassing. I was so bad on video. But I think a lot of it comes from being confident in what you have to say anyway on video. I think there's times where I put foot in my mouth all the time, but I put my foot in my mouth very confidently. And I think it just comes with practice.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is you always think you look and sound worse than you do because we're all our own worst critics. And so when I look back, when I first launched my YouTube channel, my first couple of videos make me cringe a little bit. And when I say that to some of my good friends or colleagues, they're like, you're crazy. You've been good from the beginning. And I'm like, I don't think so. It just is a matter of starting, putting yourself out there and trusting. It's like when you launch a website. Is anyone's website ever completely done? No. Yeah. Everyone always wants to update and evolve, and it gets better with time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what we often say to clients is when you think about the highest performers, the most accomplished artists or athletes or whoever, they're prolific, right? Like there's no one that just drew one painting and they were done and it was a masterpiece. Like there's tons of stuff that you never saw that maybe was horrible or it was okay or whatever, but you have to keep putting content out there. Some of it will resonate, some of it won't. But if you're so worried perfection up front that you don't even end up taking that action, that holds you back from getting, the result you ultimately want.
Absolutely.
So here we are, 2020, well into the year. What's working right now for you, Alex, when it comes to lead generation? Because you're on LinkedIn, you're on YouTube. It seems like you have a pretty comprehensive marketing approach. You have, a community of copywriters that you work with. You've done lots of work with clients individually. What right now are you doing? What are you finding is actually working best to create new opportunities and to create and attract kind of qualified leads?
Yeah, that's a really good question. 100% video. I mean, to say that video has completely changed my business is an understatement. Before I started my YouTube channel, I did consulting and copywriting for my clients. And that was my business. And it was great. I got referrals and, I had a successful consulting business. It was last year, February 13th, 2019, that I decided to launch my YouTube channel. And I did that truly more of sort of an experiment because so many of my mastermind members had talked about the power of video and YouTube. And I thought, I want to just try this to see if I can use this as a strategy in my business. Yeah. But more so because I felt like I was sort of hiding behind the scenes. All the businesses I worked, I was sort of the one making things go behind the scenes, but didn't really have a personal brand of my own. So it was kind of a personal mission as well. And it was work. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it took me 6 months to get 1,000 subscribers. But within the next 6 months, I did a launch to quite a small list of people that was so wildly successful in terms of what typical direct response marketing conversion numbers look like. And it was 1,000% because those people found me through video and felt like they already had a relationship with me. They already knew what I was all about. They knew my vibe. They knew what they could expect in working with me in my programs because obviously they had watched however many number of my videos. Right. So if you actually do the research, 82, if not more, % of web traffic in 2021 will come through video. So if you're not using video in your business, you're missing a huge opportunity.
So what does that look like? I mean, specifically, because anyone can slap a video on YouTube, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to attract people or even be visible. And we're a really good example of that. I think we have at this moment, something like under 4,000 subscribers. We have lots and lots of content up there, but we haven't really done a lot around promoting that content. We have other channels that we focus on more. So what should we be doing? And what should everyone listening to this be doing if they want to build up just a stronger platform that's actually attracting clients like you've been able to achieve? What are some of the best practices that you would recommend when it comes to YouTube?
While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The thing I always like to say is YouTube people, they like to be spoke to. So repurposing content I think is great, but tons of direct response marketers do this. And I know because a lot of my friends are direct response marketers is they'll do a video for something, whether it's a video of them on stage or it's a video that they did for a client and they go, I'm going to put it on YouTube. And then they wonder why it's not getting traction. Right. Well, YouTube is like this beast of an audience that has a very specific problem. They're looking for answers to it. Think about it. Whenever you use YouTube, you're looking for a solution to a problem. Or either that or you're binge watching episodes of your favorite show or something, but you need to address them. Hi, YouTube. Hey, YouTube people, it needs to be unique to them. It doesn't mean you can't repurpose content, but I would go the extra mile to make sure that you're giving context. So for example, if you were to put this on YouTube, this video podcast. What
Right.
I would do is I would record a specific intro for the YouTube audience and say, you're going to want to watch this interview with Alex because you're going to learn these 3 things. Title it very specific. Make it that this is the exact problem that you're going to have solved if you watch this video interview. And then, of course, you want to acknowledge them, thank them for liking, subscribing, all of those sort of things, because the YouTube audience is so engaging. They expect that level of engagement back. And so by just taking any old video and plopping it on YouTube, you might get some views, but you're not really going to grow because it's obvious that you're not creating content for that audience.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So making it very specific to the YouTube audience, essentially get them excited up front about why they should even stick around. What are they going to learn in this video? Is there anything else that you've done to really grow engagement or to be able to get more people reaching out to you from your YouTube videos?
You know, what's interesting is, as strategic as I am, I'm not very strategic with my YouTube videos. I mean, the way I look at it is I want to create video content and I want to share strategies. And as long as I'm helping people, I'm sort of doing my job. And so I didn't go into it with like this whole big, okay, I'm going to include a call to action for people to get this or do that. And I'm going to build my list. And honestly, I treated it very organically. I think if I were to look at my month's worth of content, I do a video once a week. I would say 3 of those 4 videos are very, very specific tactical copywriting tutorials because most of my audience, they stick around because they want to learn copywriting skills and become better copywriters. 1 out of every 4 of my videos, I'll do a little bit of a broader range of a topic that's going to bring in more people who might not know that they want to know copywriting, but they want to know a side hustle that they can do from home. That would be an example of a topic that casts that broader net. And, I try to be strategic in that way, but honestly, the YouTube algorithm is its own beast. Like I'll have videos that just will pop and do so well, and videos that I think are just pure gold kind of just float, they're like middle of the road, not that good, whatever.
Yeah,
So I don't try to be too strategic because I think you'll just get let down. I try to go in with like, as long as I'm adding massive amounts of value, I'll include a call to action in the description to join my email list. If there is truly something of value that I can give that's going to be supportive to what the video content is. If not, I don't include a call to action for people to sign up on my mailing list. It's just a very sort of organic thing. I've even noticed that me saying comment below doesn't make people comment below more unless I have a really specific reason for them to comment below, which makes sense. But I say, careful not to fall into that trap of like, subscribe, comment, share, because people are just like, what do you want me to do? I'm confused. So it has to sort of be this natural conversation where you're getting engagement organically as opposed to asking people for it unless it makes sense.
Hey, it's Michael here, and we'll be right back to the podcast. But first, are you ready to grow, scale, and take your consulting business and marketing to the next level? If so, our Clarity Coaching program may be a great fit for you. You'll work with our experienced team to set up a strategic plan for your business and coach you step by step in areas like how to consistently attract more leads, develop a magnetic message that resonates with your ideal clients, strategically package and position your services, earn higher fees, win more proposals, and scale your business. To find out more about Clarity Coaching and apply, go to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching.
Alex, we could definitely go deep into, some copywriting questions here, and that's probably what you get a lot of, but I want to take us a little bit of a different direction.
Okay.
You've productized your business to a degree, right? I mean, you started off writing copy and working on strategy with clients. And then you've now built out a community, a mastermind. And it really looks like from the outside that you've done a lot of kind of productization, developing systems and finding ways to create more leverage. Just walk us through kind of like what you did in your business to take your skills, your expertise as services that you would provide one-to-one to actually be able to productize it to now where you're able to serve, many at one time.
That's such a good question. And I think a lot of consultants can relate to this, right? In the beginning, you're starting your consulting business and it's all about just like breaking free from the 9-to-5, right? So if you can get a client, you're like laughing. And then it gets to the point where all of a sudden you realize like, I'm trading time for money and I will only ever be able to do so much because I only have so many hours in my day. And what if I want to take vacation? Like, I don't want to forego that income or, how do I set myself up to be able to scale, And so it started with doing higher leverage partnerships with my clients. And so not only doing sort of the trading time for dollars, but doing sort of equity deals or commission deals, which definitely started sort of that path of, okay, how can I...
Just to clarify that, so for everyone, so would that essentially mean, let's say a project was going to be $20,000. Well, instead of them just paying you $20,000, maybe you would get paid like $5,000 or $10,000, but then you would get a percentage of sales or above a certain level, that kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So with one of my biggest clients, instead of charging really high monthly retainer, I charge a lower monthly retainer and then a percentage of ongoing sales as a result of my copy.
How does all that work for you? Like, has it worked out well for you? Any big mistakes that you've encountered in doing those kinds of deals that you think people should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm only a big fan of doing any sort of commission or equity deals when you have a really great relationship with the client. And part of that is because it all sounds great up front when they're promising you the moon and like, they're going to send 1 million people to the website and you're going to get 5% of sales. And then all of a sudden you realize you have no access to the stats or data. You have no idea if what they're telling you is accurate or not. You don't know if you should be invoicing. Like, it just becomes really convoluted. And so as much as possible to set that expectation up front. So we're both accessing the same stats. I can see them. There's checks and balances in place. There's no confusion as to what my invoice will be for the commission amount that month. I don't like to start with the commission basis until I can kind of see, oh, look, here's the type of traction they get. Here's the type of sales that they get regularly, especially if it's for like a launch and it's kind of a one and done thing. That's a little bit easier to track because, you know, let's say you're consulting on a launch or you're writing copy for a launch. You could say, okay, I want to take 5% of sales after merchant fees, after affiliate fees. I mean, get very specific and then say, you know, between this time and this time on this specific page, and then it's closed, done, over.
Right.
Ongoing, it becomes more tricky because you want to make sure that, you know, you're not getting the wool pulled over your eyes and that there's trust there. So, you're from a place of being empowered as opposed to kind of being confused as to how much money you're supposed to make.
Got it. So before I interrupted you, you were kind of taking us through, right? You started off kind of trading time for dollars. Then you went from that into more leverage with kind of equity or performance-based deals. And then what was the next evolution or kind of step that you went to?
Yeah, I mean, the next evolution was like, all right, I need to start building an audience and a personal brand because this is personal preference too. I think a lot of people enjoy being behind the scenes as consultants because obviously creating a personal brand has this whole other layer of accountability where I kind of always had fear of commitment. I think like lots of freelancers and consultants and online marketers is I was like obsessed with the idea of freedom. And I liked that I only had to work with a handful of clients, have a few phone calls a week. And that was that. When I committed to starting to do weekly videos, the whole thought of it kind of freaked me out. Like, it's like, it's like you're getting married. It's like, you want me to do a video a week? What? Like, it just seemed so crazy. But I really knew for me that was my edge and that I needed to really lean into that. And so I did it. I made the commitment. I have a lot of friends who do amazing things on YouTube, like Sunny Lenarduzzi and Sarah Crisp at Wholesale TED, and so many friends who really encouraged and coached me to say, go ahead, you should start this. I think you would really enjoy it. And then it was a grind. I was creating a well-produced video once a week with not a lot of return, but I enjoyed it. And so I think for people who are listening, who are experts on something, if you really enjoy talking about it, if you find yourself going on tangents when you're like with your friends and you're talking about work, it means you like it well enough that you could probably do a YouTube channel or at least a blog or a podcast or something to start building out that audience. And then for me, it was a very natural and organic process. I mean, I'd like to say that I was super strategic and I knew that a year after starting my YouTube channel, I would do a launch, and I didn't. To me, it was more about what I thought at the time when I was starting my YouTube channel was that it would be more an authority engine so that I could work with higher level clients and make more money. I didn't realize that there would be such a demand for the B2C kind of consumer education side of my business. And so my followers just started asking me, when are you creating a course? When are you creating a course?
So just to clarify for everyone, so kind of historically, you were working and providing services to other businesses and organizations. And then what you found as you were doing that is that there's kind of the whole other side of other copywriters who essentially want to learn from you and gain your insights, knowledge of how you built your successful kind of copywriting, consulting, strategic kind of direction business for themselves. Okay, so what did that then look like? Once you decided or saw there's a lot of people that have an audience now that wants to tap my, into my brain for my experience and expertise, what did you do? How did you actually go about now kind of productizing and developing that offering?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I had a bunch of people ask, when's your course launching? When's your course launching? It was in November of last year that I said to my team, hey, I think I'm going to launch a copywriting course in January. And they were like, wait, what? And we just kind of committed to it. And we came up with a loose framework of a 8-week coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote the sales page, got it developed. And then of course, being a copywriter and a marketer, I did sort of all the launch planning and the writing of all the launch assets and everything myself, but essentially launched the program without ever having created it.
Right.
Of course, I was very upfront with that on my sales page, but it was also my reason for giving a discount. I said, this is the first ever coaching program I'm doing. So I'm going to give it to you for $2,000, which is far cheaper than I would ever pay for one-on-one consultations with my clients or mastermind members or anything like that. And I said, so yeah, you're going to get a discount in exchange for feedback. And then I created the course module by module a couple weeks ahead of of me doing it live with my students. And we just finished actually. So it went really, really well. And now I'm going to be following up with all of them, getting their feedback, getting testimonials. It's been this organic process of being so upfront about it. And it's so forgiving. People are so forgiving too. Like, I think the thing what I love the most about it is my students know this is the first time I'm doing this. So they're like, oh, next time you might want to consider doing it like this. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are geniuses. Thank you. Like, they're helping me as I create and refine the offer.
Yeah. And so how do you kind of manage the other aspects of your business? Like, are you spending time now still working with organizations, writing copy for them and doing strategy with them? Or have you shifted so that almost all of your time, like how are you kind of splitting your time and managing everything that you're doing?
That's a really good question. So I put 90% of my client work on hold for the time that I was doing the program. And that's just because, again, next time I do it, now the course is created. I just have to show up and teach it. I don't have to go through creating all the slides and all of that. But I did put most of my client work on hold. I kept my longest running, highest paying, biggest clients on board. But everything else that sort of, came to a natural end at the end of last year, I purposely didn't sign on any more clients.
Right.
And just let them know that, hey, there's a bit of a waiting list starting again in May, which, again, created sort of an essence of exclusivity and scarcity. Right. And, I knew that would pick right back up again. But I wanted my team's focus on helping me with the program until it finished.
So what are you thinking now? Are you planning to kind of start opening up the gates a little bit to new consulting, copywriting kind of strategy projects? Or do you feel like you just want to lean more and more into working with other copywriters?
You know what? That's something I'm figuring out as I go. I thought a lot about it, and I really love the element of doing while teaching. So I think it's really easy for people who were once experts at something and then they were like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And then it's like, oh, when's the last time you were paid to do that? And so I really love that as I'm continuing to teach, I'm also working with clients and learning as I go as well.
Yeah.
So I think I always want to do some element of both, but being more selective about the types of clients that I work with, which has always been something that I've done, but I want to be really excited and fired up with the clients that I work with. I'm at that point now where it goes to show we don't all have it figured out. Like now that my course has ended and I'm starting to bring on more clients, I want to make sure that I'm not completely forgetting about my students, and I have ideas for future programs, but I just, it's a balancing act right now. And I'm trying to consciously and slowly scale. So bringing on more writers to serve my agency side of my business, but also being able to focus on content creation for the academy side of my business. And that's just, I'm figuring it out as I go.
Right. So you've also been kind of in the world of personal development for a long time, whether it's working with Mind Valley or other clients, and then yourself being part of masterminds or running a mastermind. You've been surrounded by a lot of very successful people and people that have just achieved a lot in life. I'm wondering, what have you seen? Like, if you've thought about, have you identified any specific kind of habits or traits, mindsets, or actions that the most successful people all share?
Oh, that's such a good question. I mean, I could just recite the 7 habits of highly effective people, but I think for me, it's one of the big things I think is taking risks, and I don't necessarily mean like going and quitting your job tomorrow or firing all your clients and start a YouTube channel, but they've done something that puts them outside their comfort zone. I think of my decision to move across the world to Malaysia. I still look back at that now and it's like, I can't even really believe that I did that, but whatever that looks like for different people, I can think of so many of my colleagues and business partners and people who are so successful now, and they all have very inspiring stories because it was like, oh, I used to work at a gym, or I ran a nightclub, or it's something so different, but they saw an opportunity, they took a risk. And then I think it's continuing this idea of education and access. Because you said, surrounding yourself with successful people, surrounding yourself with people who you want to be. I think that's so important. And whatever that looks like, whether it's consuming content like podcasts, going to networking events, meeting fellow entrepreneurs, or whatever that looks like, but just constantly don't be isolating yourself. And I think that that's really common sometimes with entrepreneurs. It's like this lone wolf syndrome is like, I got to do it on my own.
Or I think another one is like the people believe they know what they need to know, and they kind of become just comfortable and complacent. It's just so dangerous because you never stay where you are. Even though you might be at a place where you feel good right now, the moment that you stop is the moment that you're actually going down, because the competition, the marketplace, is if they're moving forward, right, you're not staying. It's like it's a seesaw.
Absolutely.
So they're moving up, you're going down. So I think it is so important. I completely agree with you. Surround yourself with good quality people that can inspire you, people that can motivate you, people that can just show you different ways of looking at things and really expand your mindset is so, so important. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And continue learning. I think I already know that, or whatever. I can't remember what the quote is. It's like the most dangerous words. You want to go into any room and be like, what can I learn today? Like, who can teach me something? Because you can always learn something.
Definitely. Well, listen, I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast here today. I want to make sure that people can also learn more about you, your work, check out your videos. Where's the best place for them to go? Is it to your website, or kind of give us a URL here and we'll get all linked up for you?
Absolutely. They can just go to alexcattoni.com, Cattoni. And there they'll find my YouTube channel and socials and all the things. So
fantastic. Well, thanks again so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. This was really fun.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.